Great day, Facebook. How are you guys doing? I am Ronnie West, the president of the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce. As you can see here, I have two of our commissioner candidates live with me tonight. What we wanted to do as a chamber was offer our platform to all the candidates within the Greater Augusta area that are running, where we'll be actually electing here soon and putting our votes in either through absentee ballot, or my understanding is that the polls will be open for us, but we will be practicing social distancing with I think some of the machines won't be there. So just make sure you guys are aware of kind of all the changes and all the updates in the voting schedule and so forth and everything. But I wanted to make sure that you guys had like a meet and greet and just have opportunity to meet the candidates. Tonight I have Corey Johnson and Joe Ray Jenkins. They're both candidates for District 9 within Augusta, Georgia. And so we're going to kind of have a laid back, not a forum. I really wanted them to come on to the Great Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce page. And if you're watching this on YouTube, just so you can get to meet them. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the Facebook below. I did tag both of the candidates just in case you wanted to get to know them more. But I know both of them are very familiar faces in the Greater Augusta area, probably more familiar than me, to be honest, because I am not from Augusta. So that is one thing I wanted to get out. But before, let me introduce each one of the candidates tonight, and I kind of let them say hi, and then we'll get right into what their platform is. So I'm gonna go with ladies first. So first, I'll talk about Joe Ray Jenkins. She's a highly enthusiastic, caring, and ethical campaigner with a great interest in the well-being of her individuals in the community and the society at large. She's extremely motivated by the challenges associated with bringing together the people with organizations and resources required to promote and sustain progress in any field. She's a person of integrity with excellent communication skills, persuasion, and negotiation skills. She's running for District 9, as I said earlier. She's always out and about in the city. That's what I will say. So you see Joe Ray, she's probably tagging you, making sure she's handling something, either the school board, at the jail, anything. I could call Miss Joe Ray and ask her a question. She's going to get it done. So we definitely need commissioners who are willing to get out there in the community and get things done. So I can attest that for Joe Ray. But she's really here to be elected by the citizens of Augusta. She wants to see change through policy, of course. She's very advocate about children being in the classroom and just teaching and technology and so forth. So I introduce to you tonight Joe Ray Jenkins. You can go ahead and tell the lovely folks on Facebook hello.
Hello, everyone.
And then I'm gonna go right into Corey Johnson. Corey Johnson Sr. He's a former county commissioner and mayor pro tem of Augusta. So we have a former commissioner and mayor pro tem and a local business owner of 13 years. He was the youngest elected county commissioner since consolidation at the age of 34, the first African-American engineer service chairman of Augusta. He's a graduate of Lucy C. Laney High School and a graduate of Professional Career Development Institute of Atlanta. He has associate in marketing management from Augusta Technical College and a bachelor degree in business from the University of Phoenix. He was elected in December of 2007 as a county commissioner of District 2, in which he served from 2008 to 2015, and mayor pro tem from 2013 to 2015. He also served as chairman of the Public Service Committee, Engineering Service Committee from 2009 to 2013, served as the board of directors of the Augusta Convention and Visitors Bureau, was elected to serve as vice president of the 7th District of Georgia for Georgia Municipal Association, which he served from 2011 to 2015. In 2012, he was a graduate of Leadership Augusta Executive Forum. In 2013, he was a graduate of Leadership Columbia County Executive Forum and the owner of First Choice Home Inspections and Construction, LLC, which he has ran since 2006. He's the oldest of 3 siblings and the only boy, married to Shalita Burnett. Together, they have 5 sons, and originally from the East Augusta, and a long life resident of Augusta, Georgia. And what I'll say about Corey is that every time I've ever met him, because I said a little personal thing about Joe Ray, he's always been very open. He always, answers all my questions. We have really in-depth conversations about what should happen in the city. And I love the fact that he's a business owner, and he has been for 13 years. And I know that him and his wife had another business as well. So, you know, that is very near and dear to my heart, being the chamber president, to have a business owner that possibly could be a commissioner. So I know that he will understand a lot of things that business owners may experience. So Corey, if you could go ahead and say hello to all the people.
Well, hello out there, everybody. I hope everybody's well, and I hope your families are well, and everybody's staying safe through this pandemic. Of course, I know it's been a very challenging time for a lot of folks. We're learning how to do things. This is what I call the new normal, if you will. So I know it's different, but of course, we're getting used to it, and we're going to get through. We're going to pull through. You know, we're survivors, and it's in our DNA to do so. So you guys just hang in there, but I look forward to just talking with you guys tonight.
Okay, so should I do a coin toss to see who's going to go first and kind of lay out their game plan for Augusta? I'm gonna make sure we're live, and I'm kind of getting to Facebook so I can moderate. But I'm gonna let you. Want me to do a coin toss, or do you guys want to choose who go first?
I mean, are we doing questions first, or because
Nope, I want you to actually just lay out your plan for Augusta as a candidate. Yes.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean,
You can go ahead, Jeray. I'll yield to the lady. Yes.
Oh, Corey, please feel free. Go first.
I know you got a long list of things, so.
Okay, Ronique. So
I'm gonna say Corey then, since you said go first. So Corey, you have the floor, and I'm getting to the live.
And I'm Corey Johnson. I am a former commissioner and former mayor pro tem. You know, of course, during my time of serving, you know, I learned a lot about the government, how the government functions, and the inner workings of the government. I understand how important it is for the government to function at its best for the citizens to get the benefits of that. And so again, that's what kind of led me to run for office again after being out almost 5 years. I see some of the internal issues going on within the government. I understand we're losing a lot of valuable people within the government. And of course, some of our department heads, directors, and even city administrators gone at this point. And I do know we are only as strong as our weakest link. And as I know, and as we know now, we have quite a few weak links within the government. So that can be an adverse effect in several different aspects. And what I mean by that is, of course, if you're a business or industry looking to move your company to a city like Augusta, I think you're gonna look at the government and the functionality of the government. And if it's not appealing, or if you don't have any transparency within it, then it's gonna be a little bit harder for you to make that decision. And I think that's one of the key things most companies and industries look at. I can attest, when I was on the commission before, we probably had grown more in recent decades in the time that I was in office. And I can tell you just some of the things that we done as a result of industry coming in, and it was huge because we hadn't had any real industry since consolidation. And so that was a big movement. And just to name a few, of course, you guys are familiar with the Starbucks plant that came in back in 2011, I think it was. And that was something that the Chamber of Commerce, not the Chamber, but the Economic Development Authority came to us about. And of course, during that same time, the Kia plant was looking for a location as well. And so we were one of the finalists for the Kia plant. Unfortunately, we lost to seat on the other side of Atlanta. And so Starbucks were very interested in Augusta. We brokered the deal and we got them to land here, their Frappuccino division here in Augusta, Richmond County, which was huge. And they were able to and capable of expanding if need be, which I think they're actually in the phase of doing that now. But that was very key. Ulysses, of course, they're very integral in cybersecurity. So that was another big pickup for us after losing Medic to North Augusta. These were industries that were looking to relocate to this area. And of course, with the leadership we had in place at the time, we were able to broker the deal. So that was a great asset. But just looking at some of the government facilities that we built while we was in office, the new Judicial Center, the John Ruffin Courthouse, the new library, the new Sheriff Administration Building, the detention center out there, the Webster Detention Center, there on Finishy Road. I mean, a host of things we were able to do as a result of the leadership we had in office at that time. And that's what it takes. It takes some consistent leadership, somebody who can put aside the personal agendas and do what's best for the community and what's best for the constituents. Not only that, to add to some of the things that we've done just in infrastructure, when I won my first election, my goal was to everything that I thought about and everything that I wanted to do was primarily focus on infrastructure, because I knew that that was going to be the backbone. That was going to be the foundation, if you will, of any industry coming in. And as you may see, Columbia County is just starting to get some of those things and opportunities there because they are building the infrastructure. And I know you guys heard about Amazon, of course, building their facility out there, which is going to be huge. It's going to be huge for the region as a whole, but it's going to be huge for them as well. But I wish we could have been at the table to really talk about that and see if we could have done something to land them here. But, you know, again, if we don't have the right pieces in place in our government, then it's harder for us to broker those kind of deals. So those are some of the key things. But being a business owner, I understand how difficult it is. You know, of course, I've been able to grow my business from making, you know, tens of thousands to making over hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, and that don't come just by, you know, just working. You got to get out there and you got to network. You got to talk to people. You got to meet people. You got to put your company in position to compete. And I know we had a conversation about this not long ago about what do we do for minority business owners? Well, one of the things we do is we teach them, we get them the tools and resources available so they can be at the table when these opportunities present themselves. And I say that to say this, if you don't have the proper credentials, then you can't even talk to the people, okay? And I've seen that time and time again with so many minority contractors. They don't have the proper credentials. You know, you got to have workman's comp, you got to have general liability insurance. You know, those are things that you must have when you're, you know, you want to sit down and have a conversation about how can you bring your company and do business here in Richmond County with some of these larger contracts. And then we got to have the workforce, we got to have the manpower, and that's been something we all struggled with. So I think we have to look at several different aspects, but I do know it starts with our government. It starts with what happens there, and then everything else trickles down. And so that's one of the key components that's forefront on my platform. Is definitely getting us back in a good position, getting us, you know, the foundation strong again within the government, get us resilient and get us running again the way we need to be operating. And I think from there we can start to tackle some of these other key issues externally and bring about some significant change.
Well, thank you, Corey, for that rundown of the things or ideals that you would have or plan for the city. Now, Joe Ray, I want to go ahead and turn over the mic to you before we go to any Facebook Live questions. So if you could go ahead and lay out your agenda for the city if you are elected.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeray Jenkins, and I'm running for commissioner for Super District 9. Like you say, many people may know me, but there are several that don't. What I would like to tell you about me is that I'm an advocate for people. I'm an advocate for small businesses. I'm an advocate for minority business. I'm an advocate for our youth. I'm an advocate for our seniors. I do agree with Mr. Johnson, a lot of the things that he just said in regards to small business. And my main issue is awareness. There are a lot of things that can be done in the city and that the commission can push forward for small business to make the city grow into something that is beyond the normal for us. But we have to make sure that our citizens are educated, that, you know, sitting on the small business advisory board, you know, for nearly 7 years, one thing I pushed for throughout that time frame was making sure that the citizens are educated. So it's one thing to have programs in place when there's no education or people aren't aware of how to utilize what we have in the city. So that is a big issue for me. One reason I am running for commissioner is because I want to make sure that our residents know what's available to them, what plans, what grants, what loans, how can you become a bigger part of the city? How can you make Augusta grow? How can you make your business grow? How can you make this city what we want it to be? So many times, you know, we just ride around and then we're like, there's nothing to do. There are things that we can put in place. There are different businesses that, you know, you just look around. We just had Topgolf, but it's going to another part of town. That's not going to benefit me or my kids or my family on this side of town that don't want to drive all the way to Washington Road or, you know, up in that area. So we need to have people in place that are not just thinking about one side of town, just not thinking about one group of people, because we're all paying taxes here. We need to think about the people that, you know, are paying this stormwater fee. And when I go downtown on East Boundary, I still see water. When I'm coming down Windsor Spring Road, or I'm coming down Tobacco Road, sometimes, you know, I got to drive to the left because the water's not right. When I'm coming down Windsor Spring Road at night, I'm leaving from my uncle's house, I can't see. I have to turn on my lights, to make sure that I can see going down the street. I want to become your next commissioner so other people don't have those worries, that I don't have seniors or people or young kids that are just learning how to drive at 18 and 19 years old, driving down the street and they can't see. You know what I'm saying? I'm here because I feel like, well, I know that I have a good relationship with the majority of the commissioners that are sitting in office now, a lot of the admins that are there, and we talk and we communicate, but I have to be able to be at the table to make a lot of these things take place and transfer over for the city of Augusta. And that is my goal. As everybody knows, my slogan is people over politics. It's not just a hashtag for me, it's my life. It's what I've put myself into, what I've sacrificed my life and my personal life to make sure that this city becomes better. And I'm not going to stop until we are. And I'm just asking everybody to please take the time. If there's any questions or concerns that you have, go on and ask us. I'm here for anything. I want to make sure that we are better, that Augusta is better. And I know voting me into office on June 9th, I can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you for that breakdown. Now, I know for me, I kind of was telling the candidates they're on tonight, and unfortunately, Francine was unable to be with us. But we did, as a chamber, the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce, we did email all candidates that are currently running, and we offered certain time frames for them to come on use our platform to do a forum, because we know we're all social distancing, we're all in self-isolation, and we're all dealing with the COVID-19 together. So we just wanted to make sure that the candidates still had a platform to use to let the citizens know that they're running, that we're still having elections here soon. So, we wanted to make sure that you're able to meet and talk to them if you have any questions. So one thing that both of you guys kind of talked about, or you haven't talked about, you did mention District 9, because I'm not from Augusta. So what exactly does that cover? I know some may know, but some may not know. So I thought that was a really good question. Can you tell us what District 9 actually, what area of Augusta that covers?
Yes, it is, and it's a bit complicated, but it's not. District 9 actually encompasses 1, 2, 4, and 5. So it's 4 districts. I call it a district overlay. So if you live in any parts of downtown, I call District 2 Uptown, which is my former district of representation. And then of course 4 and 5, which is South Augusta. Now, when it gets to South Augusta, it does get a little tricky, because depending on what side of the road you live on, you may be in 6. So some folks who live in South Augusta are in 6. Like if you take Pepper Ridge, that's District 6, okay? But if you go back to Windsor Spring Road and you take Wood Lake, that's District 5. So when you go up, I tell people, if you're going up Peach Orchard Road, when you get to Windsor Spring Road and you make that right, everything to the right is in the district. Everything to the left is not. Now, when you get to Tobacco Road, you do have a portion of Tobacco Road to the left in the district, and then the rest of it is totally in the district. So what I mean by that is, I think it's Rainforest and Cambridge. Those 2 housing neighborhoods are in the district, okay? They kind of carved those out. I don't know how you got that, but I guess it was based on the numbers, and they needed those 2 areas to get the numbers to match up. So so that is part of that district. So so if you live in that area, you can vote for Super District 9. However, you may be in Super District 10 if you're on the other side. So hopefully that kind of get people to understand. Even if they look at their single district, if they know if they're in 1, 2, 4, or 5, they can vote for Super District 9. So that's an easier way to remember.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, another thing you can do, a lot of times when people tell me, can I vote for you? You can always go to the Augusta, Georgia website, and you can just type in Find My Commissioner. You slide all the way down to the bottom. It's going to give you a resource that you just put into your address. Once you put the address in, it will tell you your commissioner. So you can always go to, I think it's www.augustaga.gov, type in Find My Commissioner, slide down, and it'll tell you your current commissioner in the district that you currently live in.
Okay, awesome. So you guys are considered what they call super district, right?
Yes.
Did I get that right? Okay. Okay, awesome. All right, so then for District 9, because that does cover multiple districts, is there any particular things that you have discovered while you've been on a campaign trail that you would like to address for any of those districts or for the city of Augusta, that besides what you've already mentioned, or anything in particular that you've noticed the district is dealing with?
I would. Going into District 1, which is predominantly downtown area, you have some of Somerville, Harrisburg, parts of Apple Valley, that's off of 56, which is District 1. I look into that district and I see a lot of, as we all address currently the food desert. There is some practices that are going into now to bring in, a grocery store down there. But that is a big concern of mine in regards to even transportation, the food desert. That's a big thing for 1, 5, and 4. To me, transportation is a big issue when it comes to public transportation. We really don't have it out here. Once you get to Dean's Bridge and Meadowbrook, the bus normally stops. It doesn't go very much further out, but you have several people out there that are out there in Windermere. You have Butler Manor. You have different areas out there that don't have access to a city bus. So that's a real big concern of mine. Just talking to transportation and going over some of the information and the notes that I have, transportation is expected to go up in 2050. And to me, that's unacceptable. I did see some new bus stops being put out and different things of that nature. So that was very good. That was one of the things that I pushed for when I ran in 2009. These shelters need to be out. You have a lot of senior people. You have, a lot of single parents that I see, and it breaks my heart every time I'm driving down Laney Walker Boulevard and I just see, a young lady with her kids. Sometimes I'm like, should I ask them, do they need a ride? What do I do? Because they're just standing there and there's nowhere there for them to sit with their kids. So transportation, having access to food is a big issue for me. For 1, District 4 and 5, transportation is the biggest thing for me. I know crime, that's really not something that the commission handles, but it is in a way because we can give the sheriff more money to have more police officers out there, to get more programs in place with community policing. So with me being the commissioner, soon to be commissioner for Super District 9 and 5, community policing is a big issue for me. I grew up in Meadowbrook. I grew up in Farrington. And to see those numbers on the rise for District 5 having the highest crime rate is absolutely ridiculous. I don't see my current commissioner out. I don't see him engaged in my community. I'm in Farrington a lot. I'm in Meadowbrook a lot. Sometimes those kids just need some hope, a different path. But I think that we need our commission to partner with our sheriff's department to make sure that they have the money that they need so that people want to come over to the sheriff's office and work for us and make the city better. So those are some main issues that I have that's in my district.
Okay. And then Corey, anything you'd like to add, or as far as have you identified anything in any specific districts you would like to address?
Absolutely. I think, of course, I concur about the food desert being one. That's something I think all of us can agree on, and we want to make sure that that we're doing all we can to be more attractive and appealing to grocery markets to consider coming into that area. I know one of the key things they look at, of course, is head of households and how many heads in the household as well. And they want to make sure that it's going to be suffice. One of the concerns I heard about that is primarily, they want to make sure that if they move into that particular area, that it would be suffice income-wise for those living there to be able to sustain, the business able to sustain, and of course, crime being down and theft being down. Because again, when you're in low to moderate income neighborhoods, the crime rates are extremely higher, and of course, the theft rate is high as well. So when you're in that business, it's always something that the folks look at, and they want to make sure that they're going to be able to see a profit margin. And so that's something that could be a distraction, but they've been working extremely hard to turn that around and make sure that they see that it's people with disposable income. It's folks who are spending their money going across the bridge to shop from downtown area, because that's the closest region for them to go and buy groceries or what have you. So but that's definitely one of the key things. But one thing that I looked at, of course, we talk countless hours about Regency Mall and what to do there and how we're going to transform that area and all that. And it's something we talked about even when I was on the commission. We looked at, taking it by eminent domain and making it a regional park for 10 years. And then, of course, after 10 years, you can sell it, redevelop it. Unfortunately, we didn't do that. So now we're back at the drawing board about what to do with that property. Of course, the city don't own the property. So, of course, on there will have to be something that the owners will be willing to work with to get it done. But I'm just focused on trying to see if we can shop that property to someone to assist with cybersecurity. out at Fort Gordon. I think it's going to be key for turning that area around. I think it's going to create here the household jobs, and it's definitely going to create a housing influx out there. So you're going to have folks out there who are going to be buying houses. You're going to have contractors like myself building houses, and you're going to have more disposable income. And so I think you will start seeing the medium income rise in that particular area, and then you'll start seeing crime decrease a little more as well. But we hadn't properly planned for South Augusta, and that's been the biggest issue. We created the South Augusta Sustainable Master Plan back when I was in office, and it was taking commissioners that represent that area and look at those regions to see exactly what it looked like now and what you propose it look like in the future. And we just haven't gotten that off the ground in its totality. And I think that's been the biggest disappointment, because again, unfortunately for the commission, you only have 8 years. And after that, the new administration comes in and their agenda may be totally different. So now the momentum that you gain may come to a screeching halt because it's not on their agenda, you know? But that's something that we're working on. And I know that talking with the people out in South Augusta, they want to plan. I don't want to plan for them. I want to plan with them. I want to do the exact same thing I did when I was on the commission before. You know, I host community district breakfast. We have our quarterly meeting, and we talk about things. We talk about things that are important, the things that we want to tackle next, and how we're going to go about doing it. And what do we want this community to look like? You know, we want to build what they call smart, get into what they call smart growth. And these are building communities where they're resilient, they're prosperous, and they're safe, you know, and people can be proud where they live, they can work there, they can play there, they can, I mean, you name it, they can do it in their own community. That's what we want to build in South Augusta, because we know that these folks are very good people. They're either retired educators, retired military, some of them may be retired plant workers, and some of it may be currently you know, employed by the Board of Education or the plan or what have you. But they are good, hardworking people, and they deserve to have you know, shopping strips in their neighborhoods where they can go and buy suits and they can go and buy a decent pair of shoes, you know, or go see a movie if they want to. And they don't have that. And that's because we've been failing to plan. And that goes back to the zoning. You know, we got to start looking at how we're rezoning some of these areas in our communities as well, because that's going to have a key impact on whether it attract these type of industries as well. So it's a lot to look at. And of course, being on the inside of government, I understand how these things work, and it's very time consuming when it gets a lot that goes into it. It's things that's being done now that we put in place when I was in office, and I've been in office almost 5 years. So, and I mean, even with infrastructure projects, so I know they can be very lengthy, but this is the kind of stuff we got to focus on, and we got to lay the groundwork for it to happen, or it never will.
All right, so we do have a public comments. I was on a webinar the other day and they didn't say, I'm sorry, Joe Ray.
Just in regards to what Corey was saying, I think that, you know, I'm in District 9, I'm in District 5, and a lot of times we get looked at as if, you know, we're the bad guys here, as if we don't deserve what District 3 has or what District 7 has. And that's not true. I need our commissioners to stand up for average, you know, people as well, people that are going to work, people like me that work at call centers and people that work at hospitals that's not making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but we still pay our taxes and we deserve everything that, you know, the rest of the city is getting. I feel like in between, even coming up off Winter Spring and Tobacco Road, how come we can't come together and make that not just, you know, commercial, but commercial and residential? You know, the things that they are doing downtown, let's build some of those apartments and different things right here in South Augusta on Tobacco Road and change some of the planning and zoning that we're able to bring a different type of business into the city. So if we don't put forth a change to change our own dynamics, we'll never get anything done. We'll just keep saying, what if, when can we? We have to start being able to do. And that's why I'm running again for your commissioner, because I want to do. I don't want to make promises to my community that I can't keep. I want to see, you know, commercial and residential in places. I want to see my streets clean. I don't want to have to call every week and be the only person when I'm riding down Gordon Highway and saying, hey, my road isn't cut. This grass looks a mess over here. It's not acceptable, because when I ride down Washington Road, it's not that way. And they don't have people calling every week saying, what about the grass? So, you know, there are so many things that the commissioners can do and put into place, but we got to have people that care about us too. So I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem at all. What I would like to, this brings us to a good point before I go to public comments though. Knowing that it's just not one or two commissioners that are on the board. It is a mayor and then it's a board of commissioners. And I know that just being not from this area, I know a lot of times when I go into other communities or other counties, the question I always get is, how can we get the commissioners in Augusta to work together so things can move forward? So you guys are very passionate about your plans. You guys both sound very passionate about the community. But I think from a perspective of being a business owner, being a leader in this area and working in the community as well, the biggest concern is, of course, I can't just ask for anything. Corey can't just ask for anything. You know, future Commissioner Joray or future Commissioner Corey can't. So you have to be able to work with your colleagues and to get things to move forward and for things to get done. So how do you think you can really navigate those waters? I think would be a good question, better than the current commissioners that we have up now, because that seems to really be one of our biggest holdups in Augusta.
Well,
Wow.
that's a good question. That's a very good question. I'm glad you brought that up because again, that's been the issue and the topic of discussion for a lot of folks. You know, why the commission can't work together, why they can't get things done, why they can't do what's necessary when it really matters. And I will say this to their defense, they are doing some things that a lot of folks don't hear and they don't talk about in regards of moving some things forward in this city. But I do know it's been quite a few things that's been made public that they haven't been able to come to grips on and figure out how to do it. What I tried to do, even through my disagreements with my colleagues, I've always tried to extend the olive branch and say, look, you know, I'm willing to do what's necessary to help you and your constituents, and I need the same in regards. And so I was always successful in most cases in doing that because I've always, although I may not always agree with them and we may not always be on the same page, we didn't lose the relationship. And I think the respect, that's the key, having the respect for one another. And that's what I was able to garner from my colleagues, regardless of where they came from, what religion, what party they belong to, because it is a nonpartisan seat, you know, but they all belong to certain parties. We never allowed those things, you know, strategically get in the way. Now, did we have some moments where things kind of got a little heated? Yes. That's you know, just natural. Things like that can happen. However, you know, for the most part, you know, 95% of the things we bought before the body we were able to get done. And that came from being able to have a mutual respect and relationship for one another, whether you totally agree with them or not. And now I take one of my prized possessions and accomplishments, if you will, is Hyde Park. And you already know that's been something that people have been dealing with for a long time. I mean, decades and decades. And nobody had never seen move the needle to really get those folks out of there. And of course, you know, I couldn't get it done in my first term, but we started planning for my second term. And through my reelection bid, you know, we came up again with the engineers, with the administrator at the time, Fred Russell, and the people in the community. We talked about things that we wanted to do and how we was going to move. We got a consensus from the majority of the people. And then I went back to my colleagues and I talked about those things. And I said, look, we've tried everything in this community and all failed. So this is the only option. And we have the funds to be able to do that. And so with that being said, of course, it took a couple of months longer than we expected. But guess what? It passed 9-1 with one abstention because he had a family tie in the community. So these are things, and these are very key items that we were able to get done because of the relationships that I had. Now, had not I had the type of relationship and respect with my colleagues, it probably would have never got done, you know. But this is, I've demonstrated that. I've shown the people that I can go down there and I can bring the pieces of the puzzle together when it matters to get these key things done. And I've demonstrated that through my tenure in office. And that's what people need. They need somebody who have the know-how, the ability, and the consensus building opportunity to be able to go and do that. And so that's why it makes me the better candidate for the seat.
Okay, and Joe Ray?
Well, Corey, thank you for giving me credit for that Hyde Park. You remember I was out there with you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I'm just making.
She probably got the picture too. To prove
Yeah,
it.
I'm saying, hey, I remember I was out there too. I used to work out there in that area. Hyde Park was an ongoing situation. Like he said, that situation was going on before he became elected. Hyde Park had been in a disarray for maybe 10 years prior to even Corey coming into office. And it did take the community to make that push forward. I remember, you know, going to those commission meetings and pushing forward and, you know, signing different paperwork and and making sure that the community was engaged and involved and being a community activist. And that's what I've done. And that's what I would always continue to be, standing on the side with those commissioners, making sure that their agendas were taken care of. And that's one reason why I'm running again, is to be that face of the people. So I'm not always just the one going to them saying, I need this for my community, but actually being able to make that decision. So the question that you asked prior, how do we get it done? How do you set those relationships and how do you have those communications? Sometimes you have to, give a little to get a little, but you do not, take away from what you're pushing for. You have to make sure that your community and that your side is also being taken care of as well. You can't always give in and say, hey, yeah, I'm going to vote for you on this. And then District 9 is over here, looking like a dump. It just doesn't work that way. Another thing too, I go every Friday, well, before the pandemic, and get the agenda. Well, not on Fridays, I'm sorry, I go on Monday and I get the agenda, but the agenda is sent to the commissioners on a Friday. If you have a disagreement or if you don't understand something, it shouldn't take you on Tuesday to sit before the public to have a disagreement on an argument when you have approximately 3-4 days to have communication into how can we get this taken care of. To me, I'm more of a resolution-based person. Anybody who knows me, the majority of the time I'm coming to you, hey, this is the issue. What's the resolution? Let's get this solved, because I have people, somebody that's waiting on me to call them back. I don't have, 24, 50 hours to wait for you to come up with a decision when this lady over here, her water is draining, or, she's about to get evicted. I need a resolution. So when you vote for me, you're voting for a resolution.
Okay. So thank you both for answering that question. That just came to mind because I get that question when I go to other places, even though I'm not a city commissioner whatsoever, and I'm not quite sure how to ever answer it. So thank you for that. So I want to address some of the public comments, and then also just kind of talk about a lot of things you guys have discussed. So Corey has done an awesome job just kind of talking about business and development, and even talking about the Regency Mall. I believe Senator Jones, I read, is proposing something to kind of deal with structures that have not been utilized after so long. So hopefully his bill will pass. That will be something that you guys can use, or the commissioners can use in their wheelhouse here soon, if that passes, because I think he's really thinking about Regency Mall, so that way you can deal with that situation. The other thing Joe Ray always talks about is people. She's people over politics. And I always remind people about when you come to a chamber meeting and I give the statistics in the area. Augusta is 35,000 median income. That means the average income is 35,000. So if you are doing things that are outside of that range of 35,000, you are cutting off half the citizens immediately. So that's why the chamber was created, to make sure we begin to constantly bridge that gap and remind you, hey, Augusta is median income is 35,000. Our library is used greatly in this area. The circulation is twice the population in Augusta for the year. You have to understand the community that you are serving. Yes, we love great restaurants. We love big improvements. We love high rises and things like that. But the city that we are in, we have to make sure we're serving all our citizens. You cannot continue to create policies or things or even education classes and so forth that really can't, speak to those citizens, because they deserve to have lives too, and be able to build a business if they want to. If they want to understand how to do anything, they have to have the ability to attend classes and everything as well. So I understand you wholeheartedly there as well, Joe Ray. So both of you guys are definitely hitting on points that I understand. But let me. Go ahead.
I know you sit on that board as well. And a lot of times I tell people, people don't understand or see a lot of things that I do behind the scenes. And, I'll call and fuss too, because at one point in time, before I was able to print what I needed to print at home, I had to go to the library. And to print in color is $1 every time you print something. That, to me, that's ridiculous. And those are the type of things, just the small things that I want our commissioners to fight for. Because the average person, if my child has a project and I can't print this at home and it's due tomorrow, and it's a 10, 15 page project and it's in color, that's $15 that a single parent, or not just a single parent, but like you said, a person with a $35,000 income is going to the library. And now I'm spending $15 just to print something for my child for school. Stuff like that is unacceptable. And the commissioners, we are the ones that are putting people on these boards that are making these type of decisions. So when you vote for your commissioner, you have to realize and think about, who are they connected to? Who are they putting on these boards? Who are going to make these decisions for my future? It's the small things that matter.
Right. Yeah, so you and Joe Ray, I think you did bring up a good point, but I'm going to say, because I used to sit on the library board, but I have moved to the airport commissioner board, commissioner board. So I'm actually on their board. But the library is near and dear to me. They have to fund the library. I'm going to tell you this right now. The funding is too low. I'm going to say that constantly about, the library in Augusta. We're working, with not a good budget. So those things have to get addressed, but that's critical for you to understand why the library is such a resource in your community and why it needs to be funded. In other communities, it's not the case, but in this area, the library is essential. So that's the type of things you have to really understand the data and really make sure things are for that. So let's answer some of these public comments because we're getting a lot of comments. So one that I thought both of you guys can address. What if you have any game plan to actually address the crime rate in Augusta, or how to reduce crime in certain areas? So I thought that was a good general question that both candidates can address.
Well, I know Jeray mentioned that earlier about, of course, the commission basically don't have any jurisdiction over the sheriff. We do control the sheriff's budget, but that's about it. We can make recommendations to the sheriff. We, have a relationship with the sheriff and the department and how they proceed forward with community policing. But I think that's the biggest issue we have right now. The lack of neighborhood or community policing, if you will. I know Sheriff Roundtree made a commitment to do that when he came on board, and he did. But I understand now they've been kind of slack due to manpower. And of course, I think some of it's related to the virus and there's other things that's going on. So it makes it a little more difficult. And it goes back to what I said before. Without the resources or the manpower, it's hard to do anything. I don't care whether it's in your government, whether it's in your sheriff department, your hospitals, or wherever. If you don't have the resources there, it's going to be hard. And basically the manpower is resources. So I think that's where we got to start addressing that and looking at maybe some type of incentive program that will attract more folks to the sheriff department so we can have more community policing. Because again, crime is very important. Just being able to curtail is very important. But I just always educate my constituents, when we have our quarterly breakfast, and talk to them about certain things that they can do to deter crime, stuff like having certain motion lights around their homes. Don't put out large quantity of boxes of large TVs or things of that nature that you just purchased. Destroy those type of boxes or haul them off. Don't put them out in front. Or just little things, community watch, creating those things within your own community. And that way people can, take some responsibility, try to do some things to curtail some of that crime. But of course, if you don't have that going on, if you don't have people that's really engaged in their own neighborhoods, then it's going to be hard. And what we can't do, when they can sit by and just expect the police to be the end all, because again, they won't be. It starts with us. We have to start doing these things in our own community. And then, of course, with the help of the sheriff department, we can curtail crime a lot. But when you see something, you got to say something. People don't want to do that right now. So that's imperative. And I always encourage constituents, by all means, if something looks strange in your neighborhood, whether it's a truck, a bus, a car, whatever, and it's been there longer than it should be, pick up the phone and call 311, call the sheriff department, but make sure you report it, because again, that could be something that could be potentially a crime, in progress. So, but we have to be vigilant, and that's something that we can do within our confinement to do that, or within our ability, if you will, to do that. And that's where it starts. But again, just working with the sheriff department, giving them the resources financially that he needs to make payroll for these officers coming in. And I know, of course, even when I was in there before we left, we had a medium increase for all the new coming officers, because I think the medium star income was only like $24,000 a year. But since then, we got it up to, I think, $32,000 a year. So that's important, because if you're going to attract people to do this, they're putting their lives on the line. You got to pay them, and some of the most important jobs are underpaid, just like school teachers. We got to pay these folks because they're in charge of educating our kids, and they're putting their lives on the line as well, but especially from the sheriff department. So, but that's where it starts. And so we just be good partners with the sheriff and do our part in our communities and our neighborhoods to try to make sure we do all we can to deter crime as much as possible as well.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so you guys, anybody who knows me know police officers are dear to my heart. My father has served for Richmond County for approximately 13 years. Well, I say about 9 years and 13 years in Columbia County. So growing up, it was difficult in the beginning because I didn't know if my daddy was coming home. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of learn to deal with it. But I have a strong passion for law enforcement because I see it on both sides of the fence. So I understand the criminal side and then the legal side, like I said, with my father being a police officer. But what we have to do as a commissioner is quit making excuses and give the sheriff's office the money that they need. We have police officers now that I've gotten calls from saying, hey, my essential pay has stopped. And it shouldn't be essential pay. That should just be their pay. We have to find ways to go into the budget and quit putting it into other things and say, this needs to go to the sheriff's office. Because if we want to bring people into our city, the first thing I know, I look at when I go online, I look for crime and I look for education. So I'm not going to go to a town where I can see the crime rate is at 70% because I don't feel safe. So why would I bring my business? Why would I bring my family? Why would I bring my grandmother? Why would I bring my parents to a town where I'm scared? You know, automatically just looking online, I haven't been there. I don't know. So that's how businesses portray us. So we have to, as a commissioner, give the sheriff what they need, give them the money that they need to make people want to come and to join law enforcement. So there's a lot of things that the commission office can do, the commissioners can do, and that's in giving the sheriff a different budget. Also, in regards to community policing, I've talked to Sheriff Roundtree plenty of times. You know, I think there are things that we can do, like many of the commissioners, they have quarterly meetings or monthly meetings. Bring the police officers in, you know, have them come. I know things that me and sitting commissioner now, Sean Fransom, used to do. We would go to different neighborhoods. It would be like every month and just go clean up, you know, cleaning up the neighborhoods. It's not too hard to give back to the people that voted you into office. Instead of having a meeting once a month, have everybody that would come to your meeting clean up that neighborhood, walk that neighborhood, get to know those people, get to know your neighbors, get to know the people that voted for you. Have your officers out there. So like I told my mom yesterday when we talked about this, I want to be able to know that when I see car, and this is not an actual number, you guys, when I see actual car number 3103, I know that's my deputy. I know who's driving in that car. It's not just a random police officer. And then people get nervous because they don't know you. I'm not saying you have to get out the car every day, but your community needs to know who you are. And the commissioners can play a role in that.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So just two more questions and we're going to get ready to end the live for the evening, but I do want to encourage both of the candidates to read the comments because you got a lot of public comments as well, just kind of comments, not questions. But I want to end on two things that I hear a lot about from citizens and I get questioned on sometime. So, but many citizens are concerned about gentrification that is, currently possibly or looking like it's on the way in Augusta, definitely in District 1, and then the residents being misplaced, which we know that is always, if you look at history, it really is not good to separate families or separate communities that are used to living together, because that can really do a downplay on economics, even mental health. So that's a really big question that I do see happening a lot in this area. Do either of you have any plans or game plans for gentrification that is currently on the way?
Yes, you're right. First on this one, I've been taking over a few times. So.
All right, Corey. Yeah. So gentrification is a big issue for me. When they closed down downtown and they closed down Underwood, you know, I once had to live in Underwood. It was heartbreaking to me. And I understand things have to change and there's growth and development. But when that happened and I went to the commissioners and I went to the state senators and I went to our state representatives and said, hey, you're transitioning people who don't really understand what it's going to be like coming out of Underwood that's been there for 10 and 15 years. Things are going to change. When you have to come over to a different neighborhood and now you have a monthly water bill versus a 3-month water bill. When you have different things that you have to take care of that you're not normally used to taking care of. I offered a program and I was denied. I offered a program to teach the young women on what you need to do and how you need to better take care of your family, your finances, when gentrification happens and you're moved out of the neighborhood. I don't necessarily believe that we have to replace people that are in that, I'm gonna say downtown because that's where gentrification is happening. So I'm just gonna be honest, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. In District 1, there are a lot of houses that I've complained about too that are abandoned and needs to be taken care of. So my thing is you can still bring different people into the community without taking people away that are already there. When I go to different areas, and I know a lot of times people get tired of me saying, hey, about this in Savannah or this in Columbia or this in Atlanta. But sometimes when you drive down those streets in Savannah, you don't know what type of neighborhood it is. You don't know if this is a upper income area or a lower income area because people are living in the same areas. You don't have to push people away to make your area better. And I'm not saying it's not good because lower income people is there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we can find ways and resources to still keep, the people that have been there for 30 and 40 years without just taking them away and having no place to go and just bringing in a different group of people. So with gentrification, I just believe that we need to talk to the residents before they go. I know I went to recently an interview for Marion. I mean, not an interview, but we went to a meeting in Marion Homes and some of the residents had concerns. Some of the houses were abandoned, and I believe the city needs to take care of that. I believe that a lot of that SPLOST money, I believe that the money that's in our budget, the general funds, that we need to take care of the properties that are abandoned. If the homeowners are deceased and there's no one else, then the city needs to take over that property and you can sell it or you can turn it into something else. Like I was saying, we need to be able to do commercial and residential, make it into a commercial and residential area without just kicking everybody out.
Thank you for that comment, Joe Ray. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, of course, it's probably been the talk of the last 5 years in most cities. Of course, Atlanta, primarily, you're seeing a lot of it. And I think the key when we were in office, of course, back when I first got elected, that was the closure. That was on the brinks of closing one of the housing projects here locally. And that was the first one to be torn down and purchased by AU to build the dental school there. But it was a big concern about the folks that were being relocated. Where would they go? And then how would they maintain? Because again, as Joe Ray said, these folks were used to paying very minimal. Now they have to maintain yards and pay monthly utility bills and all of that, which is a bit much when you're not used to that. So that was the trial mark, if you will, for a lot of the residents that moved out of there, and how would they, cope and how would they make it. And so that was a learning curve for a lot of us, because again, exactly what we thought would happen ended up happening. A lot of those folks got vouchers. They moved out into these neighborhoods out in South Augusta, and most end up losing their benefits because they didn't maintain. And that's because they weren't properly, informed or educated on how to go about maintaining these things. And so that's something that I've always, and I keep going back to education, because if we don't prepare people for things that they're going to be dealing with, then they're going to fail. It's like anything else. And with the planning phases, working with the housing authority, we talked about building these senior homes in the downtown area, keeping folks there so they wouldn't be relocated from communities that they were used to, especially being near the hospitals and their doctors and the pharmacy. We wanted to make sure we kept them close by. And so when they did Underwood Homes, they did a pretty good job with kind of mixing it up a little bit. So they of course, they had firemen, they had policemen, they had teachers, and they had seniors, and they had people who were in school, obtaining their degrees. So they had a mixture of people in those communities. So they didn't just kind of move everybody out, and then build this high-end, housing complex. And so the only way you can live there if you're making six figures. That didn't happen. The same thing with Pine Street. The homes there, of course, they started out at about $150,000 a year, which is a bit higher for that market, especially at that particular time. But as you can see now, the market is calling for most homes are costing anywhere from $130,000 to $200,000 a year. But the one key thing that we put in place at that time we put in that stipend, which actually gives them an incentive. So if they're going to live there and they're going to be there for 10 years, they will give them like a down payment assistance. And also they will pay a certain portion of whatever the cost of their property was. So if they were paying $150,000 for their property, they got it for $110,000. The $40,000 will be forgiven if they stay in it 10 years. If they decide to sell it within 10 years, they will lose that benefit. But that was an attraction that was put in place to try to keep the folks who normally wouldn't have been able to qualify in that area, get them to the table and get them, to be able to qualify based on the income that they are currently bringing in. So it was several different methods that they put in place to try to make sure we retain some of those folks. But again, you're going to have some other folks coming in that neighborhood that have a higher income because they want to live nearby the medical district, and so rightfully so. But if we put things in place through housing and community development, that will help curtail a lot of that and make sure that never happens. And that's what I like what Warwick Dunn is doing through his nonprofit, is building these houses and sponsoring these houses for seniors and giving them an opportunity to be able to stay in a neighborhood that they're comfortable in, and they don't have to worry about the financial piece of it, and so that's what we have to do more of, even through the housing authority and through the private sector, find means and find ways that is and grants and things that are out there that'll help assist these folks and keep, the influx out of folks who we may be making six figures in that, that particular neighborhood or that community, and drowning or pricing other folks out, if you will. So there's several different things that can be done, but I can tell you, we have done probably one of the best jobs here locally than some of the cities of our size, or even larger, because I can see some of the same folks who come from those neighborhoods are moving back. And I can just say, because we are inspectors, so we do go out in certain neighborhoods when called, and we do inspections on these properties. And a lot of these folks are folks who once lived down there. So they've been doing a pretty good job of, maintaining that. And we just want to make sure we keep the program in place to kind of help retain and retract those folks and keep a mixture of those folks in those neighborhoods.
Okay. Thank you for both of that. Oh, go ahead, Dory. Did you have one more thing to add, Ms. Jenkins?
Piggyback. And I just wanted to tell, I know we had Hawthorne Welcher Jr. on about 2 weeks ago for the town hall meeting that we had, and their department is doing an awesome job. Like he said, well, with Warwick Dunn, I've gone to several of those, and just seeing, some of these people that are able to finally become homeowners, it's just amazing. And it's just a lot of things. Like I said, we have to make sure our community is educated on the resources that are available to them, because there are a lot of resources that we just don't put out, to one another to make sure that we know. And also one thing, when everything happened in Underwood, our homeless rate, after, like Mr. Johnson said, after about a year, when people weren't able to maintain, our homeless rate increased. That's some things that we're not talking about as well. You have to look at now, you have people going back through the same process and through the same, programs because it failed. So you have to be mindful and really take and think about the people. It has to be about the people because they are the ones that run Augusta. You have to put the people first.
Okay. So it sounds like both of you guys really talk a lot about education, but I always like to say that you have to sometimes get strategic and smart with the education, because everybody doesn't learn the same. So, as you guys think about things to put out there and to educate folks, everybody doesn't take in information the same way. So I always think about that as I'm talking to an audience, or what audience I'm talking to, because sometimes you have to bring it to that level where they will understand it with that language. I always think about the difference between a Boyce Watkins or I can't think of his name right now, but he always uses really big words. And Boyce always is talking to the people, but then it's the one guy who's always on CNN and he's using really big words all the time. But the people, they may understand the word, but they not hearing you. So even when it comes to education, I talk to people about, we're really thinking about how do we redo financial management so that we can really get it to the people to where they understand it. We want to change the whole name of it just to call it something unique and different so that we can then begin to really get it to the people. Because we know that if you help help everybody's going to do well, right? If everybody's doing good, everybody's going to do good. This is very critical. I'm going to say that again. If everybody does good, everybody's gonna do good. So we got to remember that. But
right.
we got one last question that I want to go ahead and throw out there. I got to end with a business question, and then I'm gonna let you go for the evening. I really appreciate you guys coming on to this meet and greet. Kind of turned into a little forum, but I love the fact that it was more intimate, and you guys got to get a lot of information out there to the community. So this is going to go on our YouTube channel, guys. So if anybody like missed this live or anything, you don't have to search on Facebook. Go directly to our YouTube channel at Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce. You can click on this link. They can, they'll be able to share it out. Once I get off of here, I'll try to upload it really quickly so they can send this out to their constituents and so forth. But small businesses are the backbone of any economy. I've talked about the data all the time, or any community. Larger businesses, yes, we love the large corporations, this and the other, but a lot of times they're just replacing the jobs. Mm-hmm. They're not really adding jobs, nor they're adding opportunity. They're usually replacing the workforce that is getting older, that is retiring, that they may have laid off, and so forth. So, small business is where the larger businesses come from and so forth. They're really the backbone. And my heart is with the small businesses right now because I'm on calls daily, working with them to make sure they get their PPP, their disaster loan, whatever it may be, as a chamber that we can do for our business owners. And I can almost say we're almost at 100% of making sure our members have gotten some type of assistance. So, shout out to all the team. We've been working hard over here. So, but COVID-19 has impacted businesses hard. And their recovery is going to be pretty long term.
Yes.
We've had some pretty crucial conversations with some businesses, about consolidating, about maybe closing, reopening to another business. What does that look like? But what is your plan to help the business owners, not only during this time, but also with the recovery efforts? Because, I think a lot of times people are like, oh, we're going to go back to normal. I'm like, no, it's going to be a new normal. We don't know what we may face in the future. So we got to make sure that our businesses are still strong and able to thrive and still be able to even want to be business owners. We had a business owner forum. You guys may want to watch that. It was very informative. I had businesses on of all sizes, but they were all small businesses. But it was a really good perspective to hear from local business owners in this area. So what is your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll start by saying you're absolutely right. This economy, just like unlike 2008, housing meltdown where people were working, the economy was rebounding at that time. On the brinks of rebounding. Obama had just taken office, of course, and so he was on the brinks of turning things around. But it was tough. It was tough, and small businesses fail a lot. You have so many folks who actually went under at that time. But it's going to be this particular situation here is going to be an alarming rate of folks who are going to be closing their doors and never opening again. And so what we got to do now is we got to be encouraging small businesses. We got to be aligning ourselves with resources that will be accommodating for those folks who are interested in getting back out there again. Because again, it takes a lot to run a business, and you got to be very strategic to maintain a business. I was fortunate during the time, of course, as I said earlier, I started my business in 2006. With $500 in a pickup truck. And it was so tough being able to navigate through that because again, with the housing market going down, people weren't buying houses. So as an inspector, I wasn't making money because if they're not buying, they're not inspecting houses, right? So I had to get creative, and I got into the renovation aspect of it. And I said, okay, well, let me start at the construction division. And then maybe we can start, if they're not buying, they're going to be rehabbing, we got to start doing more of that. With folks who have potential or want to get back into the market of being an entrepreneur. And we got to find opportunities and grants and funding out there that'll assist them, because just like now, what they're doing now with the SBA is creating programs that will allow for grants at a very small interest rate. This hadn't happened in a long time. So for small businesses, this is a key opportunity for them to take advantage of this, because this is a golden chance for them to not only get the funding to get their business or sustain their business, but they have a very low interest rate. So now their payments are not going to be that large. But it's vital that we do that, because if we don't, you're going to see so many businesses close. And I mentioned this about 4 months ago. In the Wall Street Journal released a article back in December that stated 202,000 jobs were created in December alone, small businesses. Small in that 1 month, Over 200,000 jobs were created from small business. So that tells you that small businesses are very important. And so if we don't continue to be an advocate and provide resources for those folks, but also teach them how to be resilient in times like this, then they will fail. And so it's critical that we do that moving forward, especially now, because if not, then we're going to see this economy like we never ever seen it before. And they already projecting going into the fall, it's going to be a travesty. That's why you see folks out here buying guns and you can't find bullets, because they're projecting a famine almost. And so we got to do something to start changing that. And it don't start on a local level. I mean, we can do what we can. We don't earmark those dollars because we're not the source of them, but that comes from the federal level. So we got to make sure that we're talking to our U.S. senators, our U.S. congressmen, and making sure that they understand how important it is to keep small business working. Because if they don't do that, it will fail. And if they fail, then of course it's going to kill the tax market, because people won't be paying taxes. People won't be buying houses. They're going to be losing. They won't be paying property taxes, you know? And so it's just a domino effect of a lot of different adverse things happening in our economy if these small businesses fail. So I will say that to say this, it's important that we do all we can to educate them now, provide the resources that's available, help coach them through it, as you said earlier, because some people may not understand things in the same format or at the same level, and make sure if it's anybody that we can retain and save, that we do that. Because if we don't do that, especially in this economy here and locally, it's going to be very difficult on the road to recovery.
Joe, right? Thank you.
Okay, small businesses, you know, that's my heart. That's my heartbeat right there. My family has a small business, a bouncy house. My daughter has a small business, you know, so I was once a small business owner, and I understand the ups and downs of making sure, hey, I still got to pay my rent, I still got to pay my employees, and I still have to live. So another thing I think that, well, I know that we need to do is the city wasted $50,000 on a disparity study that sat for 10 years. I went before the commission for the disparity study and I fought for it. So the disparity study was just letting the community know that, hey, we have small businesses here, we have African-American women, we have minorities that need that are being left to the side, that are not being taken care of, that we're not saying, hey, these people are important and that they need this money. Another thing I wanted to say for anybody that is listening and watching for some of these small business loans, you need to call when the commissioners, they had a commission meeting the other day, you know, I'm advocating, call your commissioner and tell them to vote for that small business grant. There are things that the commissioners are able to do for the community now. The vote has already been placed, but you know, we have to make sure that the community is educated and know, hey, this is going before the commission. You need to make sure that you're on your commissioner. You need to vote for this small business. You need to make sure that we have the funds and the resources that we need to stay afloat. Another thing is, like I said, the disparity study, I was made aware also that the commission has paid, I think, another $20,000. So that would be a total of $70,000 that has come out of taxpayers' money for another disparity study. That's set for 10 years and we didn't do anything with it. And that's a problem for me. But we'll go into that at a later time. Another thing that you talked about also is education in regards to small business. As I said, I sat on the Small Business Advisory Board for approximately 7 years. What I did this last year, but with the pandemic going on, I wasn't able to finish it, is partnering with, you know, that department as well as Augusta Tech. What I see for our community is that when people come out of Augusta Tech, like when I graduated and I had my small business diploma, you take those classes there needs to be an opportunity that the city is preparing people to open their small business and to be able to get contracts, so that you can't say, hey, we got all these small businesses, but guess what? We only have 5 small Black businesses that are able to do, you know, plumbing and different things of that nature. And then after a certain amount of time, you don't qualify anymore to be able to stay within those guidelines. So we need to partner with Augusta Tech. Like I told, you know, the department heads downtown, it needs to become a partnership that when people graduate from Augusta Technical College, that there's a partnership with the city. We need to have an office there. So, hey, that we can teach them, how do you become a small business? How do you get city contracts? What do you need to do? What is the city looking for? How do you make money? So the city can play a part, the commissioners can play a part in making sure that we have education and knowledge and real resources, not just saying that there are things out there, oh, just go talk to this department head. No, show me, train me. Because like you said, everybody learns different. So that's one thing that I'm pushing for. I'm not going to stop until we get it, y'all. You know, everything's going on right now, but I promise you that making that connection with Augusta Tech and the city, that we have an office there. So when people are coming out of these training and they're receiving their degrees and their diplomas, hey, this is what we have available for the city, or these are the kind of contracts that you need to know. So when you go, you're ready and you're prepared. So that's my issue with the small businesses, and making sure that you can also contact the Housing Community Development, because they have a lot of grants and loans too for small businesses as well. So
Okay. Education. Okay. Awesome. So you guys both have a lot of points that are in common. So just kind of think about that and the things that are different. But we did get a chance to hear from both of you. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time with us this evening. I encourage you to kind of look at the comments that were left and then answer any other questions if you can. So again, this will go out on YouTube. So we had Corey Johnson, who is commissioner candidate for District 9, and we had Joe Ray Jenkins tonight, who's commissioner candidate for District 9 as well. And I'm Ronique West, the president of the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce. Remember, we are your purpose partners. We're one community, one voice. I truly appreciate you guys. Do you have any last words or statements you want to leave? And how do people contact you? That's really critical. So you got to make sure that people know how to contact each one of you guys and your campaigns you're currently running. So we're gonna let ladies go first. Joe Ray.
Yes,
Ms. Jenkins. Go ahead.
All right, hey everybody. Ladies first. Okay, thank you. Remember that on June 9th, everybody. Ladies first. Say it again, Corey.
I'm gonna try to stay impartial. You know, I'm all about women leaders, but I'm gonna stay impartial right now.
Say it again, Corey. Ladies first. We didn't hear you.
No, we support our women. We do. We support our women.
But my name is Jeray Jenkins. As you know, I'm currently running for Super District 9, Augusta Richmond County Commission. I'm asking for your support on June 9th to come out and vote for me. I am here to make a difference in the community, a real difference, to put people before politics, to make sure that you have the education, the knowledge, and that I'm accessible, that you're able to reach me. I know you can reach me on social media right now. That's pretty much the easiest way. We are on Facebook at the Committee to Elect Jeray Jenkins, or you can go on my regular page, Jeray Jenkins, message me, text me, whatever. Instagram is the same. Also, you can reach out to my campaign manager. Her name is Alexia Jenkins, which I am super proud of my daughter. Let me add that into here too. A lot of times we tell each other, you know, we need to bring new people on, or we need to educate, and we need to train, or we need new people in place, but you have to start teaching and training them. So I am super proud of my campaign team, because I have a whole host of 20-year-olds that are showing me and guiding me on some things that I did not know in regards to politics and different things of that nature. But once again, you can reach her. Her name is Alexia Jenkins. You can find her on Facebook as well as Instagram, or Wanisha Brown. Our number is on the page. You can also go to the Committee to Elect Jeray Jenkins page. And we are here. We're available all the time. Now, I normally go to sleep around 12 or 1 o'clock. So anytime after that, you won't be able to catch me. But other than that, you know, reach out. I'm always here. I'm always accessible. That's one thing that I'm proud of myself and proud of my team, that we actually put, you know, people over politics and people first. That I am the type of person that I'm going to address your issues. And if I can't get a resolution from you, I'm not going to hide. You know, I'm going to let you know what's going on. I'm going to make sure that, you know, you stay engaged in the process. So it's us. We're one team. We're one Augusta. So I'm asking for your vote. June 9th.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Jenkins. Mr. Johnson?
Well, again, thank you, Monique, for having us on today. It's definitely enlightening, and I'm glad we was able to share our platforms here with the listeners. I will start off by saying, you know, through this pandemic, it's created some trying times for us all, and I know everybody's praying and just hoping that they can remain safe. I just pray that you all haven't had to deal with anything drastic within your families or what have you, because I do know some that's been very near and dear to me, and actually in the process now of burying a loved one tomorrow. So it's very challenging during this pandemic to even do that. So we just continue to pray for you guys. Just remember to stay strong, stay safe, do what you have to do. Don't let anybody coerce you to do anything you don't feel safe doing, and just protect yourself at all times. So so my prayer is that for you guys. But I want to again ask for you guys' support. This is a very special election. Of course, we know that the economy is going to be struggling to rebound from this pandemic. So having a leader who is experienced, who's a business owner, who's been there and understand how government works and intergovernmental workings as well is critical. Knowing how to bridge the gap and bring people together, but look at key components that's going to get this community going again is very vital. And so I'm that candidate. I'm the guy that's been able to do that. And I've demonstrated that time and time again through my tenure in office. Like I said before, we have so many great things that we want to do, not just for the community, but for small businesses as well, as far as starting and creating programs that will be enlightened, and also making sure that the resources are there through education and training, as well as financial, to help them as well, because that's going to be key to getting this economy going again as well. So, so again, I'm that guy. I'm Corey Johnson. Again, running for Super District 9. We need your support. We need your prayers on June 9th, and we look forward to serving you guys downtown again. So again, thank you, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Okay, so the people in the comments actually enjoyed the forum. They felt like it was very informative. So you guys are welcome. It helped me as well. I wanted to learn from both candidates and from all the candidates. Actually, that's why we reached out to all the candidates to agree to use our platform to host some forums. Because we know during this time everybody's social distancing, but we still know we still have to get business running as normal. So we have voting that's coming up. So I thought it was crucial that everybody get the opportunity to hear from the candidates. And we would offer our platform during this time. So to reach out to the chamber, you can reach us at www.mygabc.org. They will take you to our membership. You can donate to the chamber so we can continue to run in Augusta. We've had a lot of good things that have happened even through this COVID-19. I'm just really excited about all the things that are coming out of it. But remember, we're one community, one voice, and this will go up on YouTube. And I appreciate you guys this evening. I hope you have a great week.
Contact too, Ronika.
Okay, go ahead and get your contact if you have.
You guys can reach us, of course, on social media. Elect Corey Johnson 2020.
Okay.
Email, of course, electcoreyjohnson.com is the website. You can also contact us at our office at 706-550-6678. We'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. So you can shoot us an email, hit us up on the website, or even call the office, and we'll make sure that we'll have somebody reach back out to you to address your concerns. Okay.
Ms. Jenkins.
One thing, I just want to let everybody know that you can go on his name is Hala G on Facebook, and my committee to elect Jeray Jenkins, as well as our local chapter of the NAACP, who I'm a member of, sit on the political action chair on that department. We're going to be sponsoring an essential worker. I think we've already chosen one, and we're still waiting on another one for the NAACP to sponsor, and it's going through Hala G. It's HOLLAGE. They are going to be doing some things for essential workers, so you can reach out to them. I don't know if it's going to be a monthly contribution, or is it going to be a one-time thing, but okay. I do know that we will be participating in where. So if you know of any essential workers that are in need of anything, just go to his page and send out a message, or you can put it on our committee to elect Jeray Jenkins page. And like I said, we're going to be sponsoring an essential worker. So I forgot to tell you that earlier. So I'm sorry about that, for being late. Okay.
No problem. And then give us your page again, just in case somebody didn't hear it. Sorry, Ms.
It's the committee to elect Jeray Jenkins.
Okay.
On Facebook and Instagram as well. My contact for my daughter is Alexia Jenkins, and my assistant campaign manager is Wanisha Brown. And they are both on social media, or you can just message me on Facebook.
Okay. Well, you can follow the chamber at MyGABC, because we are your chamber. That's why it's MYGABC. Look for the hashtag and you will definitely find us. So thank you guys again, everybody in the comments. Hope you have a great evening, and thank you for attending.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you guys.